So basically, just to recap what we have been doing so far. So we basically started non-financial tools discussion. So we finished SWOT analysis, PESTEL analysis, and so we are about to about to actually start the Porter's 5 forces model. Last week actually we have discussed 2 points and another 3 areas to do, and then we can wind up the non-financial tools after the discussion of BCG metrics, right? So why that these non-financial tools are important is basically because we can use that non-financial tools to analyze a project. So it means that, let's say, a customer is submitting a report, project report, regarding a kind of investment, then we need to analyze the project feasibility. That's which you are planning to do in a later session. So when you are trying to analyze the total project, so we need to analyze what's like market feasibility, what's like management feasibility, technical, and so on and so forth. So in order to do all those things, so non-financial tools are important in the sense. So basically we were discussing those things to support the overall project feasibility checkup. So in order to see whether management is feasible, or market is feasible, technical is feasible, we need these non-financial tools, right? So then last week, so we completed the SWOT and PESTEL with the example to SWOT analysis. So today that we are trying to start the Porter's 5 forces and see whether we can do kind of some group exercise like what last time what we did, right? I think here we have discussed what are the 5 forces: ease of entry, threat of substitutes, bargaining power of buyers, bargaining power of suppliers, rivalry among the existing players. I think we have discussed 2 out of this, if I remember correct. Is it to have we done the first 2? Vilanja, I think we have done first 2, right? Ocean, I think we have done 2, right? First 2, right? Okay. So then we'll start with the third one just to see recap. This one is like new entrance is something we think how easy or how difficult a new player to come into the market and to compete with whatever existing players. So that's how the new entrance. For that, we have given some checklists, economies of scales, product differentiation, brand identification, switching cost, and then we'll see, how easy, how difficult. If it is easy, we say it's a high risk. If it's difficult, we say it's a low risk. Then industry competition, that's a rivalry among competitors where, how much, the competition within the players, right? So there are maybe 1 or 2 players, or maybe few players, or maybe number of players. So depending on that, so we see what's like competition each of other is forcing to the next line. So then based on that, we'll see it's high, medium, or low, right? So the third one is bargaining power of suppliers. So it means, right, let's say that now we are in operation where you have number of suppliers which are supplying to you about, say, raw materials or other sort of inputs, right? So then in order to see whether what is their power, what is their the bargaining power, so what is their influence toward this business, will tell you how much the business is competitive, right? So basically that there are again some parameters that we can consider. The few of things I have mentioned here: number of important suppliers, availability of substitutes, differentiation of switching cost of supply products, supplier threat of forward integration. So we'll discuss each of them, because sometimes so we might be asked to write kind of the short note on each of these things. So then at least it's good that 1 or 2 points, so that you can get a 1 mark for each item, right? So the first one is number of important suppliers. The fewer the number of important suppliers, the more power they have over the firm, and the greater their ability to extract, produce a surplus. So what it means, like, let's say you are on a company, and then there are some, suppliers who are supplying whatever the inputs that you require. And if you, let's say, if you have only one supplier, so what could be the like scenario? So you are dependent heavily on the particular supply, because if the supply is not supplying at correct prices, correct time, then you are at a trouble, right? But if you have many number of suppliers, right, so then maybe one or two guys not selling, supplying at right time and right price may not be an issue, because there are ample other suppliers, right? But there are few suppliers, again it's like medium risk, because few means maybe losing one could have an impact even a short term, right? If there are many suppliers, you don't have to worry. If there are one supplier, you are too much dependent on the particular supplier. If you have few suppliers, then again it's a like medium type of impact. So like that, you need to understand when customer comes, when customer gives you a project proposal, when you are trying to evaluate the customer's competition in the business. So we are trying to use this Porter's 5 forces model. So one of those things are bargaining power suppliers. Then we will ask, right, can you give me the number of suppliers, or can you give me the list of suppliers, right? Can you give me the the quantity that each supplier that you planning to supply, the importance of those suppliers. So those are the questions that you might put to the promoter, and then you try to get those things, and then you will evaluate. So based on that, so it's one of the parameters is number of important suppliers, few, many, one, like that. So based on that, you will see the impact is high, low, medium. Number two, availability of substitutes for suppliers product. So this would reduce suppliers power. So let's say now you have a couple of suppliers, but if you have an issue with the particular supplier or suppliers, but if you can find it a substitute for the products that they are giving you, the raw materials that they are providing you, then their bargaining power is not that great. If they are not submitting, not supplying, no harm, you can go to another substitutes raw material, substitutes inputs, which you can get for somebody else. So it means that the bargaining power of supply is not that great, because if having substitutes would reduce the impact. Third one, differentiation or switching cost of suppliers product. If it's difficult for the firm to switch to other suppliers, the current suppliers can charge more. Means, let's say now you are getting something out of from the suppliers, but it could be something that, say, you have a kind of production which may be dependent on some of the molds, for example, because based on that you are getting the supply. And if you want to change it, then you need to change from the mold itself, which needs some kind of initial cost. So then if I want to move from supplier 1 to supplier 2, probably you need to have some kind of different infrastructure arrangement sometimes. So which means there is a switching cost involved. So probably that might give a kind of the some power to the existing suppliers, because they know for sure that you can't change right overnight, because there is some switching cost, or maybe some other kind of things that been attached with the current suppliers. So then we call switching cost or differentiation. So then it's difficult to move to a new supplier, which means existing suppliers bargaining power is high. Third one, suppliers threat of forward integration. Means, now let's say you have supplier, so you are here, you have some buyers. But what happens is, now rather than they manufacture supplier to you, if they are going to start it their own manufacturing firm, what could be the scenario? Because then you have some issue, right? Instead they give you a raw material, what they are trying to do is, now they are going to manufacture. Like you, they are trying to put a company and do it like. So then obviously there is a kind of direct competition between suppliers company, and you are doing the same thing. So like that, there may be so many things that you can find where how the supplier's bargaining power is going to impact. It could be high, it could be medium, it could be low. So the supplier's bargaining power low means you don't have to worry. The supplier's bargaining power high means it is like important critical situation. You need to manage the suppliers, right? So based on these factors, number of important suppliers, availability of substitutes, impact like the switching cost or maybe forward integration are some factors that you need to be worried about, right? So then we need to have some solutions to these also. Like example, if we have only one supplier, probably you might end up with some agreement, supply agreement, because we say that, you know, maybe it's a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year kind of agreement. So there you need to supply minimum quantity with this guaranteed price. You like, you know, there may be the acceptability of return of this much. So like that. So you are trying to make a kind of agreement with, you know, the supplier if there are one or few suppliers, because you need uninterrupted supply chain. So like that you can have some, you know, the actions proactively taken to manage the supplier's bargaining power. So that's what we need to do in generally when we are undertaking financing. So basically this is the third pillar, third component in Porter's five process model, where bargaining power of suppliers. So any questions, any thoughts? Anything that it's not clear? Dilanja, Oshani, Sanjeev, I don't see that it's a much, you know, technical, but just understand, because sometimes it's like, you know, very easiest question that we are, you know, expecting, right? Yeah, thanks, Dilanja, Sanjeev, and means that, you know, we can get a kind of a question and we can, you know, answer quickly, right, and get the full marks like that. So that's why, yeah, thanks, Oshani. So you need to, you know, make a kind of, you know, the 100% confidence on these areas, because you know, like straight away that you are scoring on those areas, right? So we'll move to the next point, that is the flip side, like the other side is bargaining power of customers in the supply chain, the consumer side, customer side. So again, you need to see number of parameters, you know, number of areas, right? So based on that, we see, you know, how much the power of the customer. So first one is number of important buyers. So that, let's say if you have only one buyer, like you are a company, you are manufacturing, and all you produce is going to be purchased by one single buyer, one important buyer, means you are at a high risk in case if he's, you know, accepting, delaying payment, change in terms, probably you are at a receiving end, because you don't have any other supplier, the buyers, right? But if you have many number of buyers, so may not be a big issue, right? Because so many buyers. So either this guy is going to, you know, refuse, you have the rest of the consumers, customers, buyers, so you don't have an issue. Again, you know, depending on how many and depending on how important will decide the bargaining power, high, medium, low. Number two, availability of substitutes for the industry products. The impact of this on price elasticity or demand for the industry's product is obvious. Like here, let's say now we are selling something, and in the market, there may be substitute products available for this. So in that sense, you know, if there are no substitutes, the products that you are going to sell, then the bargaining power of buyers are low, because they can't switch to substitutes. But if there are ample substitutes in the market, so then the bargaining power of buyers are high. Let's say you are sending something to the market, but, you know, customers feel that, you know, it's, you know, we can easily go for some other rather than buy new product. Then you are at a receiving end, means high power to the customer. But the other side is you are sending something, but customers doesn't find any substitutes in the market. So obviously, they're at mercy of you because they need to purchase that. Means their bargaining power is low. So again, like the supplier end, in the consumer end also, you see availability of substitutes. Availability of substitutes means higher bargaining power. Lack of substitutes means low bargaining power from the customer perspective. Hope you understood. The third one is buyer switching cost. This is relevant both in terms of switching to competitors' products and switching to products manufactured by other industries. So how easy, how difficult to switch to other products? Rather than buying your products, how easy or how difficult to move to other products? Means, like if there is easy to switch to other products in the market, means they have higher bargaining power. Or due to patent or some other agreements, and then if they are unable to switch it to competitive products in the market, means their bargaining power is low. So you need to understand which market, which products, which service arrangements, which players you are dealing with. So based on that, you need to assume and see whether, is there any impact on my product and services. Last one, buyer's threat of backward integration. Now, rather than they doing distribution, they want to come and manufacture something, which is a direct competitor for you. So far, what we have been they doing was, so you manufacture, they took it, they do distribution, or they use the end use purposes. So instead doing the distribution, like the distribution company come in and start in the manufacturing operation is what we are calling here, backward integration. The previous one, sometimes a raw material company come in and starting a manufacturing company, so supplier forward integration. So buyer backward integration means rather than doing distribution only, they come and start operations here. The classic example, maybe like the recently opened tire company. So what they have been doing, so that you can easily import tire and sell it to the end user. That's what you are doing. So instead you're doing that, what you could do is, rather than distribution, now you start a company, manufacturing plant to manufacture tire. Means you are not going to import tires now. You use local rubber, whatever, chemicals and all that. Now you manufacture something. Means buyers or the distribution company now did the backward integration to manufacture something, which will come down the cost for the manufacturing company, obviously. And it's a direct competitor for the other manufacturers in the market. So these are the things that you need to consider to see whether bargaining power of customers, importance of buyers, like number of buyers, availability of substitutes, switching cost, threat of backward integration, right? So based on that, so we'll see the impact is high, medium, or low. Sorry. Last one, availability of substitutes. Some of these points have already been addressed in looking at buyer supplier. However, it's useful to consider it again from the product perspective rather than from the perspective of other economic actors. So we actually discussed about substitutes availability in terms of buyer, in terms of supplier. So in addition, this component is so much important. That's why the porter has taken it separately as the substitutes. So what are the factors again we need to consider is availability of substitutes, user switching cost, substitute produces profitability and aggressiveness, whereas a substitute product located on the price or value dimension. So these are the things that you need to understand in terms of to see whether the impact of substitutes. First one, availability of close substitutes. Let's say I am marketing, so I am selling some product and services to a selected customer segment. Now we understand there are some substitute product available in the market where these customers can move and consume that product instead of my products that I am selling. It could be something about tea versus coffee. It could be something about something that you are producing rice and curry as well, versus the other junk foods like that. Right? So there may be, you know, ample opportunities for customers to move if there are substitute products available in the market. So means that close substitutes are there, means higher competition. Hope you are getting me. The second was switching cost. You know, there are number of users for my products, and then how easy to switch from this one to this one. Let's say you are using an Apple phone, and Apple software is a necessity to run the Apple, you know, apps. But if you can switch to maybe Windows or some other open source software, then no harm that rather than depending on Apple products, I will go to a Sun and use those things. But it is not practical, not possible with the Apple component, because they have made us difficult to move to some other, means higher switching cost. Means you need to purchase another unit if you want to use Samsung application. So high switching cost. But there are some other phones where, like Huawei and all that, so instead of Apple software, you can switch to open source software. You can, you know, use this one, and this one get downloaded without any charge, right? Now, no payment, right? You understand? So switching cost is minimum. Then no issue. But some switching cost is high. Like you are using an iPad or a laptop, and attached software will decide to difficult or easy to move from operating software to another software. Sometimes they are charging something, so you means once you have installed, you know, you need, you know, incur some cost. So then you are unable to, you know, keep it and go for another one because you have incurred some cost. But if it's a open source, it's a free of charge, then no harm, right? So rather than using this one, you install another one, you use it. So the switching cost. Substitute produces profitability and aggressiveness. So then you need to understand there are, you know, substitute products and how their marketing strategy, how aggressive, how much the product is profitable. So with that, probably you have an impact, right? If the profitability margins are very thin, so possibly you have that advantage. But if they have a higher profitability margin, anytime they can reduce the cost and have impact on your business, your product. Aggressiveness also, right? What they are marketing and what they are, you know, how they are targeting the market, whether they, you know, they offer discounts and, you know, get the customers, offering bundle product like that. So many things could be expected. So based on that, you know, it has an impact on your product or services. So the location, it's very close, far away, which have obvious impact. Let's say you are opening a shop here, and then very close by there is another shop where subsidy products are available. Obviously, it's an impact for you. But if it is 2 kilometers away, probably customers may not, you know, willing to move another 2 kilometers to have a product, and so come and discuss with you with the kind of bargain or whatever discount. So they might retain with you. So like that, you know, need to understand this concepts very clearly, right? Whether for exam or even non-exam perspective. If you are a project officer, if you are a credit officer, so when customer comes, and then, you know, you need to assess the customer's competitive position in the particular market. So this is very important tool for us to see whether, you know, how competitive the market is. දැන් අපි නිකන් මෙහෙම කියලා මේක මාර competitive business එකක් එහෙම කිව්වට බෑ. අපි දැනගන්න ඕනේ කොහොමද මේක කොච්චර competitive ද නැද්ද. Right? ඒක දැනගන්න, so we can have so many tools. The one of the tools are Porter's five forces model. So when you go by under each item and the further checklist, then you understand, you know, how competitive this business is. Then you will say, no, this is highly competitive business. So probably it's not good that, you know, you do kind of infrastructure, facilities, finance in this stage. Better you invest on working capital, because what you need to do is you need to retain this, market. For that you need to, invest on working capital rather than infrastructure. But if you see that, the business is not so competitive, not so great in that terms, what you can do is you can, invest in the infrastructure, and then you can further get the advantage, being you are the key promoter in the particular sector, particular business. Like that, best to understand the competitiveness of the firm, of the business, of the project. Based on that, so we'll take your decision. Again, if the positive things are coming out, we'll say, yeah, we are supporting. Market is good. Market feasibility is very good. But negative means you end up with market risk, industry risk. So you need to manage that. How are you going to manage? Like, agreeing into contract, using your network, offering discounts, advertising, right? Doing different things to capture, retain, acquire markets. So the marketing strategies develop in may appear in a competitiveness. Right. Any questions? Any thoughts? So today we have only 3, Oshani and Sanjeev and Dilancha. So any questions, any feedback, any unclear areas? Or if there is a question comes that you can, straight away answer and get 5 marks. Sanjeev, any question? Oshani and Dilancha? I presume it's not like, technical or a difficult area, but only thing is a bit of, understanding here, because when we get a kind of a question, we are in a position to, get maximum marks like these areas, because nothing to worry about calculation and all that, just write up. But again, when you are trying to write it up, so you need to plan it like, maybe 3-4 different points, right? Because if they ask about, porters by courses, and then you just describe when you list it, and further describe means you have to write at least 1 or 2 points under each area. There you can, write maybe the 3-4 checklists that we discussed, and then you can use it, right? So now that we have looked at the firm's environment and assets, we need to look at the firm's strategy within the environment and how this relates to the other parties identified in the 5 forces. So we must keep in mind, however, that our objective is not to craft new strategy for the firm, but rather to appreciate its current and potential strategy in forecasting future cash flows, evaluating investment risk. So basically, what we are trying to do here is through this market competitor analysis, so we'll see that, how this will impact on your future cash flows. Whether, having a high competition will have an impact on future cash flow generation capacity, because the future cash flows are very key, because the future cash flows are the source of funds to service you of the debt that you are going to plan, that you are going to give to customer. And then evaluating investment risk in the sense, so that, if I am investor, if I am investing, so I am the promoter in this project, and then what are the risk in terms of market. So whether it's acceptable or it is not acceptable, will tell you as a promoter first place to go ahead or not to go ahead with the project. So that's what we are trying to understand here. Now, actually, we have done about, SWOT, PESTEL, and porters. 3 different things we learn, right? The SWOT is like, almost like everything, internal, external analysis, but most like a very what do you call helicopter view in a firm, where you try to look into most of the areas, management to technical to market to financial and everything. But when come to the PESTEL, it focus more on external environment, but they go into very detail and see with what's the environmental impact towards the business firm project with the futuristic view. Then comes to the porters, it's again, you look more or less into the market potential, market feasibility, industry feasibility, and to see whether in line with other tools, how well, how competent my market is, a promoter's market is. Right? If it's risky, then you need to do something to move forward. And it means risky in the sense it will have impact on your future cash flows, future cash flow generation status. So that's what basically we are trying to understand the five forces model. Right. So before moving to the next part, better we will do a kind of collective exercise here again, like what we did last time. Before that, we have a question from Sanjay. When it comes to the bank, substitute product for a bank, what can be the best example, since most of the banks offering deposits and lending at a similar rate? So now, if you take a substitute product in the sense, now we talk about deposit versus the rest is a substitute product that we need to consider here, because now what our ultimate idea is, taking deposit is, right? Because we want deposits to maintain liquidity. In return, we need to give it to customer. That's what our target is, right? So every bank's, taking deposits. So in the customer perspective, now let's say you are a commercial bank and you are offering deposits. Sampath Bank, they offering deposit. Bank of Ceylon, they offering deposits. So what is a substitute product in the customer's mind, right? As a commercial bank, when I am offering the deposits, that's what we need to think about, right? So then we need to think about deposits. We have term deposits, we have savings, current, minor, like that, right? Then one thing could be like, the deposit itself, you can't have a substitute product, because everybody talks about deposit. But the way of offering, what are the other incentives attached to the deposit might have a kind of the impact on buyer's mind. Where now you see that commercial bank might say we will opposite the deposit with insurance, right? Then some other bank would come up with, say, the deposit with gifts, like that. So then the substitute product could be what are the strings attached to the product, because the deposit is anyway core. If you take term deposit, A, B, C is immaterial, because interest rates may be 1% or 0.5%, because nobody can offer very high rate except finance companies. But if you say the bank versus a finance company, that could be a substitute interest rate, because you get this deposit at 5%, where the finance company can offer 6.5. Then you have to bet with the stability. But again, if the deposit itself have a sign kind of products, where then higher interest deposit versus the low interest deposit, that's a substitute product itself. If not, the substitute product could be deposit with the attached benefits. If the higher the benefits, probably they will take this as a substitute product. If you move away the deposit, then types, right? So you talk about deposit, maybe term deposit, but some other bank would again come up with the different attributes of the deposit. Instead, you will ask them to deposit something and I will pay interest, but some other bank would compete with that, say you have monthly commitments, and end of the year, end of the 3-year, 5-year, like maybe you have I think investment planner. I think commercial bank also have it something, NTB also having something like. So there again, it's a substitute product, but core product could be a deposit, but offer is different. The people might be interested in, rather than put in 5 million today and asking interest, or they might say 75,000 per month, and after 5 years you will get a 5 million. So like that, then you can change the attributes of the, the offering, but finally it's a fixed deposit. But the way you offer, that the differentiation makes the substitutes impact high or low. That's what we need to discuss in that way, Sanjeev, because otherwise, when you say the deposit, because the bankers, so everybody has to, deal with the deposits, no? So you can't make a kind of a difference between deposit itself. Interest rate, yes, could be from finance company to bank, and the bank to bank, it could be the different, the strings that you have attached to the features you will attach to the deposit, or the offering, the method of offering could also have an impact on a substitute status of the product. But because now if you see the customer's perspective also, a deposit does not have a substitute. It's from bank A to bank B to bank C, again a similar, because every bank's needing deposit. But you can make a change to term deposit to current account to minor savings to investment plan, like that. So you can do that change that make you available a substitute product in your banking book. Is it clear, Sanjeev? Right. Any other questions, Dilanja? Ushani? No? Okay. Means, so what we'll do is, we will try to do a kind of a exercise like what we have done last week. Right. You can see the board, right? Dilanj, you can see the board, right? Board showing them. Then what we are trying to do is, we will see that the practically how we are going to apply this Porter's five forces model. So we might have been given a kind of question saying, there is a customer who is running, we'll say, a medium type of restaurant, or takeaway or restaurant, and then he has come to take a loan. Now we are supposed to evaluate customers' market risk, market feasibility, in terms of how competitive the business is. So you need to apply Porter's five forces model and see whether this restaurant business, eating house business, and it's like medium type of business. We may say it's like Pereira & Sons outlet sort of thing. So we'll presume that it is located in somewhere around, it's a bit outskirt like Nugegoda, Talawatugoda, or Kiribatigoda area. So you need to assume that kind of a thing, and then so you need to also think some of those factors and see whether what could be the impact, right? So then first it will be like this. So we will say first one, bargaining power, supplier. Number two, bargaining power of buyer, availability of substitutes, rivalry among existing players. Fifth one, new entrants. These are the five forces that we need to consider: supply bargaining power, buyers bargaining power, substitutes availability, rivalry among existing players, so new entrant. So there are five categories that we need to map against this business. This is what we call a medium type of restaurant. Project is medium type restaurant at say then you can assume this is not like Colombo type of location. This is outskirt, and so you figure out what type of the area, and maybe couple of restaurants also possible when you see this type of operation, and then you need to see whether the impact, right? This is the impact: high, medium, low, right? And then it could be like overall impact. Overall impact, right? So let's take one by one, right? First one, buyer bargaining power of suppliers. Now assume, say we have a restaurant or eating house located in a area where it's not very high end, right? It's not like hotel type, but again it's not very low also, like not a kind of place where small boutique kind of thing. It's a basic or medium type, where it means that you have parking, you have takeaway option, you have home delivery, for example, you have morning, lunch, and dinner sort of offerings, different products, seating, a bit of AC, like so. Assume, right? This is the type of restaurant that we have been talking here, right? What is the the bargaining power of suppliers? So how we are going to find out? Now go to the supplier. What are the criterias, and see whether what type of impact, it's high, it's medium, or low in terms of restaurant operations. Now it's over to you. What is your view? And if it is high, why? If it is low, why? It's medium, why? You can speak up, or you can put me an info through text. තුන්දෙනකින් හින්දා ලේසි වෙන කවුරුත් නැහැනේ. අපිම තමයි කරගන්න ඕනේ. What do you think? Sanjeev, what do you think? Ushani, Dilanj, first point. What's the impact? High, so many similar restaurants in the market. So we are there. First one is bargaining power suppliers, right? Sanjeev, now we need to think about suppliers' perspective, whether high, medium, or low. What are the things that we will consider there? Whether many number of suppliers, one important supplier, few supplier. There are 3-4 points that we discussed. So those things will come here. And based on that, we will say high, medium, or low. Point is bargaining power of supplier. Sanjeev is telling high. Dilanja would be medium. Yes, since they can supply to other restaurants, suppliers have more bargaining power of supply. Yes, Sanjeev is like cementing his idea with the kind of additional comments. Dilanja is telling about medium. Then Ushani, what do you think? You also in agreeing with medium or high, or you have different views, or you are in between? What do you think? How do you see that suppliers make life difficult or easy in terms of restaurant owner? Low, more suppliers, and they don't have much power. Yes, that is a point. So what exactly happening here? Now let's say restaurant. I was telling you something about it's a medium type of Pereira and Sons like outlet. located in like, you know, outskirt in Colombo, like Kibbatgoda, Talawatugoda, Nugegoda kind of thing. Probably there may be a couple of restaurants, as I was telling you about, at least minimum 2 within a 5-kilometer radius, right? If you see that the question itself means that let's say 3 sort of scenario like restaurants. In addition, there may be others also. But what do you think? Who are the suppliers to this? Like then think about who are the suppliers. Suppliers could be vegetable to fish to meat and other like you know, the products like, you know, cake and sort of thing, right? Probably the rice and curry might be, you know, cooked at that place, deliver, or even that also being the supplied by a bit of kind of other suppliers, right? So in that sense, so what if you know, if say there may be obviously a many number, but again, though the number could be many, but that what we need to see here is, you know, how important they are, right? Because we are in a eating house business, you know, people would, you know, buy your product if they are delicious, right? If they don't feel that there may be like stale kind of thing, and you know, so that's why, you know, people come and, you know, pay a price for whatever the products that they are going to consume. So obviously here that, you know, suppliers are put important one thing. It could be a timely supply. Let's say fish or meat supplier is like dragging their feet and, you know, delaying the kind of, you know, supply. Probably you have an impact, because then හැමදාම ඔයාගේ orders ටිකක් දෙන්න තියෙනවා, maybe institutional and, you know, walking customers kind of thing. අද ටික මට deliver කරගන්න බැරි ප්‍රශ්නයක් දෙන if I am not getting that. That's about quantity or time. And again, quality also important. Then parane level වෙන්න පුළුවන් and all that, then we have some issue. So basically now if you see the other side, what happened now, there are a couple of important suppliers, but if we say no to somebody, can we go to a similar supply overnight? Probably may not, because the importance of the product and service you are doing. But in a medium term, short to medium, yes, obviously this guy is not making supplies enough, and then you can go to another supplier, right? And also like in this type of scenario, what we need to depend is basically we are in the eating house business where customers are depending on your product more on quality, right? And then they also think about, you know, the hygiene factors and all that. So hence suppliers are important, right? But I am not exactly agree with Sanjeev to say that, you know, the bargaining power is what do you call very high. Why? Because now what happened is, now though they can supply to other restaurants, but they also can't do it overnight, right? Because they also have some other suppliers, connected suppliers. මම කම්පැනියක් කරනවා, මම සප් එකක් කරනවා, මං ගාව ඉන්න 10 දෙනාගෙන් එක්කෙනෙක් අද මෙතනින් drop වෙලා, he can't go and, you know, go to another and say, you know, I will supply kind of thing. Because again, as Oshani was telling, there are a number of suppliers also there, right? But if you are losing, if you are not providing me, you can't go and find another supplier, because again, the perish nature of these products, අපි තුම එළවලු ටික මාළු ටික මස් ටික and all that, so you can't, right? අද ඔයාලට එපා නම් මම ඔයාලට දෙන්නම් කියන තත්ත්වයට යන්නත් බෑ. So probably but I think we can pitch it here, right? Not Oshani here, because it's important, but not here. But somebody can say it's like, you know, high medium type, like it's more towards high because the importance, the quality, durability, sort of the dependence kind of thing. So we if I am a restaurant owner, I prefer to get it from known party for about longer period than, you know, buy and pick from a, you know, day-to-day sort of thing. We will do that also, but I agree on some like Oshani, you were telling about, you know, some years the number that you can get, but like, you know, since that, you know, dedicated customers, so they prefer the taste preferences kind of thing. So you can't change overnight the maybe the taste sort of thing, packing kind of thing. So probably since you are a medium type of restaurants, better that you have a kind of agreement with these suppliers also. That means you can't have number of suppliers. You need to have some few established suppliers, because in a case of a emergency also you need to depend on these guys. No, then some issue with the fish market, say in Paliagoda, so these guys should be able to bring it from Nigambu, right? Fish supply because otherwise I am losing the supply, right? So probably that he has that network because he is a bit of established guy also. The established guy keep within suppliers are not many, but there are ample, but they are not like your direct or good suppliers. So I prefer to pitch it like high medium, not very high, not low, but we can pitch it here because the importance of the business what we are doing. Is it clear, Oshani? Is it clear, Sanjeev? Because it's in line with what Dilanji was telling. Right. What about Sanjeev? Yeah. Right. Great. Then we'll move to the next one. Bargaining power of buyers. Then again, pick some parameters. Who, how many, what the relationship, switching cost, differentiation. There are a couple of points. What's the bargaining power? Think who are your customers? Working, institutional, home delivery, and then repeat customers, right? What are their profile? What are their power kind of thing? Bargaining power of buyers. What is your answer? Would be high. Think about the practical situation then. Wala and restaurant eකට මොකද වෙන්නේ? Wala යනවා දැන් ඒක හොඳ නැත්තම් whether you are switching to something මේක හොඳ නැහැ and all that. Yes. With the service offered in rare situation, only they switch to other restaurants, right? Again, two was telling about maybe high. Sanjeev is with medium. With the service offered in rare situation, only they switch to other restaurants. So that's true to some extent. Like if they are not very happy, they move. But again, Sanjeev, loyalty is there. But this is like medium type of restaurant. And probably, customers are not, so much loyal when it comes to the tasty or the preferences. Like they might, willing to test, right? So if you are a customer, probably that there may be 3-4 restaurants in and around. So probably you like, you are willing to experience a couple of restaurants, right? But yes, I agree with your point. There are services offered. In a rare situation, they might switch, right? There may be other things will come as priority, maybe urgency, maybe delivery, right? Is like convenient, because these things are medium type of restaurant, not very high end, right? Because the cost also that you are incur maybe not so great. So probably they can move to another, right? And if they are not happy kind of thing. But again, we need to think about how many in numbers. Like if it's like 50 customers that you are talking about, or maybe 500 customers. Probably it could be something 500 customers, right? Because then there may be repeat customers, walk-in customers, passerby, institutions, right? Maybe different meals. Like so, there may be number of customers are a bit high. right? If you take a hotel in a restaurant, there may be limited crowd because not very, very much, the guys are moving to a top class hotel to have the restaurant because there is a loyal and dedicated. But metana medium type of restaurants, there may be number of customers may be very high in the sense like 50 to 500, like, right? If you lose a couple of customers, then it does have a bigger impact, but it's important, right? Probably I might also pitch it at like here. It's not high, but not obviously low. Medium again, take a high side because again, I agree with Oshani and Dilanja because now then supplier's impact, customer's impact could be high. Because if I feel not happy, so I might tell it to somebody else and this and that kind of. So that makes me a kind of a bigger impact to the influence. So hence then these whatever the existing customers are important, right? Now the passerby, just a walking customer. AI parking because you are located in the area, there you have kind of a network also. Then you feel that it's a mouth to mouth dealer, then impact. So then it's like high side, not the low or medium. So we'll pitch it here. So put it to here, but I prefer to keep here because the number is bit high. So I'll take it that comfort, say we pitch it at medium high category. Hope you agree with me, but this is anyway subjective, right? So that now example now when Oshani, now you are telling about high because you have that experience, right? Because you being a girl, probably you might say that if it's something bad, you might switch it, right? Maybe somebody else might think about no, it's okay, have some because I will come again, like. So the people think it differently. So especially in the consumer's perspective, we always have to think about more a pessimistic way because they are the kind of decision makers, especially in this kind of eating house business, right? Not like other, because you can't keep the material, keep the produce for a longer period. If the customers are not coming, so you need to throw it out. So you are loose, right? Whereas the other businesses, if they are not coming, you can keep it for some other day. So you can do something even after, stock clearance kind of thing. But here you can't do. So it's basically bargaining power a bit high side. So we'll keep it here. Hope you are agreeing with me. But again, there may be contradicting views, but just for the understanding, so I'll keep it. Availability of substitute, third one. So think about, the produce service offered by a restaurant and what are the substitutes available, and then what do you think? Assume that they also do kind of different type of products, to rice and curry, to hoppers, to shortage, to drinks, to so those things we assume this medium type. Yes, substitutes. Yes, they Sanjeev is telling high. Yes, Dilanja high. Yes, very good. Then when, let's say, when it comes to the question paper, then if you want to put this type of a thing, and when you say just like this, then you can say high number of restaurants. You can write it, right? So then only your answer is be justified, right? Okay. Rivalry among existing players. What do you think? This is a medium type of business, and how would be the, like we say, 3 to 4 restaurants in and around this 5-kilometer radius? What could be the rivalry? How they compete each other? You need to see what the checklist, and you have to come up with the conclusion. I know based on some assumption that we need to come to a conclusion, but what the best effort basis, what should be the conclusion? High because different food range, other facilities, parking. Sanjeev was telling that, you know, the competition is high. Dilanji was also telling high. Shani, what do you think? You have two highs. You are coming with high. The food industry is growing and more. Yes, more competitors. Oshani, only the last part I am not agreeing because it might lead to the last one. More competitors can join. It could be a new entrance part, but I agree with here that the food is growing, right? Industry is growing, so that could be something where more relevant to the last one. But rivalry, yes, because the competition could be high because even the existing players, so they come up with different the product services because the customers changes are different. So bit of they want to keep retain customers, right? And they want to experiment with whatever they are their requirements, and they need to keep parking and so many other things also that they need to work with. So probably I mean it could be this level, right? Last one, the new entrance is something that a part of your answer could lead to that Oceany, where industry is growing, new competitors can come. Now you need to see whether how easy or difficult to new guy to come and establish and to compete your customer. Now have your answers. So kalpana කරන්න මොකද්ද මේ business එක? What would be the investment? Right? What do you need to start a kind of a restaurant, medium type of restaurant? Whether it's easy one, difficult one, kind of. What could be your answer? You think that if you want to put up a restaurant tomorrow, then listening these boring lectures, right? And how it's feasible, how easy, how difficult? Demand for fast-moving food items are high. Sanjeev is again. Yeah, fourth one. Yeah, the rivalry, Oceany. What I was telling is like now here we assume in this example there are 3 to 4 similar restaurants in a 5-kilometer radius. So we need to understand now how competitive each other, right? So when you say how competitive, then you need to understand what are the the things that these guys would do to attract and retain customers. The other side, maybe the products are similar, service levels are more or less similar. Then there may be value additions like parking, air conditioning, home delivery, right, and available of morning to lunch, evening sort of thing, maybe snacks kind of thing, right? Those are the things that you need to use it to outplay your competitors, right? So in that sense, like each restaurant, because say 300 to 400 customers, maybe common customers also. Let's say you are running a restaurant, 300-400 customers not dedicated to you, right? They might switch and they might buy something from other restaurants as well in a similar period. So then how well that you are trying to keep your customers. එතකොට ඒකට ඔයා මොනවද කරන්න කියන එක තමයි අපි මේ කියන්නේ competition එක. About advertisement, about promotion, like keeping this the hygiene factors very high level, maybe parking, right? Maybe online booking kind of thing. So you try to do those things also. So means that it's a competition, right? එතකොට then again, if I was telling you that only one guy is operating in this 5-kilometer radius, then the rivalry among the players is low because only one restaurant in operation. But I was telling, though this is Colombo suburb, 3 or 4 restaurants operating in 5-kilometer radius. So means that not very high operators, but few restaurants are operating. Again, since that this is like closer by 5-kilometer, maybe not 2,000-3,000 customer base we are talking about. It's to 300 to 400 to 500 maximum. So then you need to retain those things by doing different things. Ekahinda, we have to say what their strategies are, how they're trying to keep the customers, retain the customers. What are your marketing, advertisement, promotion tools? The Eka we are telling it's high. Right? Eka hari. Did you get it? Oh, am I to explain it again? Right, okay. Then we go back to the fifth one, new entrants. Now, Sanjeev was telling demand for fast moving food items are high. Right. What about other two? New entrants. The threat of new entrants. Aluten mechanic in a threat taker, high the medium, the low. Right. What do you think? Dilanja, Oshani, last point. Sanjeev has come up with an answer, but what about the other two? Threat of new entrants. Go ahead in. What is your answers? Say, think you have some money and you want to start a restaurant in wherever you are. How do you see this? It's a bit of challenging one, or it's very easy. But I can open up and do the it's a bit of very difficult exercise. Sanjeev, yes, you have come up with something. For Dilanja, Oshani in Budkya. Medium, yes, medium, because there would be high investment to open, yes. It's like this, yeah. First, I will answer Sanjeev. You have mentioned demand for fast moving food items are high. It doesn't exactly relate to this, right? You know, that now the demand is high means, yes, it tends to you move into the industry. It doesn't say, you know, how difficult is your medium to enter into the new as a new entrant. So what could happen here is, now let's say we be talking about medium type of restaurant, but not like those days Dilanja, but there is not so difficult to come to and open a restaurant, right? Those days may not be very easy, but today, if you take in today's context, let's say if you can hire a place, rent it out, and even all the machinery, whatever these things, also you can, you know, pay it later concept, you can get it, and then you can, you know, find some other suppliers to, you know, bring down some kind of a sort of materials, and then you do kind of thing. But it's not a very high investment like starting a factory kind of thing. But I agree with Dilanja and Oshani, where it is not easy also, it is not so difficult also, right? Because if you have some kind of money, that you can start it. But because why we put the medium is important point here, that you need to have some good customer base also, right? And suppliers is anyway, because through your contacts and you might be able to find it suppliers, right? By doing some price undercutting kind of thing, yes. But end use customers is not very easy to attract. Day one will take some time. So you need to have some investment to cushion that this break-even period also, right? Customers like that, you need to run at a loss sometimes. So means it's not easy investment for anybody. So everybody. So hence, but I'm not targeting high because I also agree with medium. But because if you have a kind of investment due to these factors, maybe easy rent and sort of things, yeah, maybe another restaurant could come and operate. Especially, yes, I agree with the franchise kind of thing probably may not easy. But since we were talking about Pereira and Sons type of restaurant, so it's not very difficult, right? But it's pitching medium, right? What about now, Sanjeev, you are clear with the point, the point that you have raised and my explanation? Because here we predominantly looked into how easy or difficult to new investor to come and start a restaurant. I agree with your point because of the food is growing. Ocean was telling earlier, growing and tempting. That's this like people are more or less now is now as a passion or habit to go out and eat. So sort of things is happening, but it tends to you to open it. But then you think about investment here. The contacts, networks. So that's why we see whether new entrants are coming. But for the industry growing then kind of thing will come to here, maybe rivalry. So is it clear, Sanjeev? Fine. Right. So now we have done, right? I know may not be 100% correct here because we have done it subject to several assumptions, but I think concepts that might have gone on to you, because that in case if the examiner wanted us to do it in an examination situation, probably he might say maybe small IT company, maybe a small restaurant, or maybe a international school. So he might give us, and with the kind of context, maybe 2, 3, like if you take say international schools located in like Nukegoda. So do a kind of quotas by forces. Now you need to think about Nukegoda, maybe a couple of international schools and universities also, like high number of players. Then you need to bring down people here. What are the consumers, like students, like, and suppliers maybe like teachers kind of thing would be a supplier. You need to think about who are my suppliers, who are my consumers, who are my competitors. Okay, what's the substitutes then? International school substitute government school kind, or maybe like that, right? Or maybe some other technical schools kind of thing. You need to figure out what are those. Not very easy, but in exam situation, it's further difficult because if you have not done it earlier, that is that we have done it here, so you can write out 1 or 2 examples and see whether how well that I can apply the model and see what could be the outcome. So what could be the final result here? Then if you see this, majority are which here, you can also put some marks like if 50%, 40% or 20% and weightages, and like you can do sort of analysis, but rather than doing it, you can see 2 highs, 1 high medium, and like another 2 mediums. Obviously, what you can see here, the competitive position, the competition is the risk, the impact of the business, the promoter's business is bit of high, it's medium or low. Market risk is, it means that whether high competition, medium competition, low competition. It's more or less highly competitive. So highly competitive business. So that means high market risk. So you need to have your strategies now developed to meet this high competitive position. That's the outcome. So in this exercise, rather than make a highly competitive competition, so we went to each item. Then make a correct, there may be subtopics here. Based on some assumptions that you have come up with and say highly competitive. Means there may be a tendency being competitive in future also. Means that if they have not managed the situation, will have impact on your cash flows, which will ensure your repayments if you are about to give a loan to these people. Then you need to think about what are my counter strategies to minimize this market risk. like suppliers lat එක arrangement එකකට එනවා, agreement එකකට එනවා. And again, maybe you see that how you are going to minimize the competition. Probably one-stop shop. So everything is morning to lunch to night to home delivery to, so everything about bringing some online, or maybe bringing some what you call bundle products. And maybe you try to do a kind of market research and see whether what sort of thing that you can do to improve your customer service. Right? Maybe hygiene factors about AC2 appearance to, and all those things you can do with the the loan that you are going to propose. You try to minimize this impact. That's something that you can do. Example, so this competition is high. We need to manage the competition, right? So we need to retain our existing customers. How we are going to do that? With physical and as a spiritual things, that we can do those things. When you say bargaining of our supply, yes, high medium is closer to high, but you need to manage it. Have some contracts signed about 2 year, 3 year, and contracted supply, price, delivery, quality. Set then it's not a big deal to manage. Then here, buyers also like it is moving this way. So for that again, you have maybe not only the walk-in customers. Then service some institutions special orders, you can get it through through web kind of thing, develop on the web page, like because other guys may not be having, but you are doing that kind of thing, so that you have some outstation sort of thing, institutional functions. So like that you need to develop something else, because now obviously this is highly competitive. You are trying to do something differently, counter to manage this competition. That is what we need to do. Right? Any questions? Okay, Sanjeev, done. I think Dilanja and Oshani, you are okay with that? Example is clear? Any questions? Model is clear? If it is like requested that you can do it. Dilanja, hope if it is for exam questions, you will be able to do it. I think I have seen one attempt. Examiner was, giving us to test on this, maybe 2017 or so. So we'll do it whenever we are attempting past paper questions. But in the meantime, do a kind of a exercise like pastel shorthand here to make further internalize the concepts, right? So the last part, not a very big area, again BCG growth matrix. So we'll have a quick look on this, because this has not been tested so far, but just wanted to give an idea where that in a company, in a firm, that you try to see whether what is your product production and strategy as against the market strategy, right? So basically we try to understand what is BCG and how it has been constructed, and based on that Boston Consultant Group matrix, what kind of a recommendation that you would give to these the people and the evaluation. So 60s businesses were diversified, and then different countries that have been using different tools, but then they wanted to make it a kind of a universal application tool. Hence that 69 Boston Group implemented this BCG matrix. So here there are two components. One is basically they were trying to take a market share and they want to compare the market growth. So what it means is, like, let's say now you are a company, you are a promoter, you are doing a business, and then you need to, want to see whether how I am performing in terms of market, right? Whether, like, market is growing, but I am not growing. It's not a good situation. Market is growing, I am growing, but I am, lesser growth compared to market, means it's not bad, but room for improvement. And then market is growing, I am growing more than that, means so I am doing something differently against my competitors. So that's, like, commendable, but then you need to manage the situation, because ඊට වඩා වැඩි වේගෙන් ගිහිල්ලා කොහෙද හරි අපේ භාෂාවෙන් කියනවා නම් යන ගන්නවට වඩා අපි බලනවා, so basically, how I am performing in the market, right? So when you are trying to grow this level market, then what happens is, then there may be a market share, right? Market share, so we are trying to talk in general. You say our bank will say is 1% of that, another would say 2%, 3%. So means there is a total market share, and out of the total market share, so my market share is like 1%, 2%, 3%, because it is important. One is basically the outsider as a banker or investors to see whether, how well you are positioned in this market, because ultimately we try to manage competition, we try to, do different strategies, because what we need is, we need to, increase our market share. So we need to grow our market, right? So how we are going to do that is, how we are going to understand is basically we understand that through this BCG matrix. So once we understand this, our proposition, then you can develop your strategies to maintain something, to grow that. So those things, because otherwise what happens is, like, that, we want to grow, we want to maintain market. So everything is, very good, funny words. But how are you going to do that is, now then you have to see whether, like, this is my product portfolio. This is, like, how I have segmented. So these areas that I want to increase, these areas that I want to, move it out, like so. Then you need to take some actions on your product portfolio. So ඒක තමයි මේ BCG matrix එකෙන් අපි කරන්නේ. So here basically now when you say relative market share, it's relative. It's like you are trying to compare with somebody else, because you are say your sales versus the number one player's sales. Let's say you are selling 100 million per annum, whereas the main seller or the number one seller is selling, say, 1 billion. So then it's a 10% is your relative market share. That's what we say. Similarly, market growth is, like, how that the market is growing from last year to this year. So that's why sometimes in our banking also we are thinking about, the banking sector cumulatively grow this much, and then market share also we are comparing. So this total is 100 million or 100%, then my part is this much, right? So that could be maybe the two methods: firm sales of particular strategic business unit divided by total market average sales. Rather than taking the number one competitor sale, you can take average sales of the market, and then you compare it with your particular unit sales. So there are methods that, you can arrive to come to draw the graph, but most important component is market share versus the market growth. So based on this market share and market growth, you are trying to position your products into these two areas, right? So the format is like, the y-axis, you at 10% level, x-axis like 1-2 kind of thing, like growth and all that. So then we will, position our products into this, right? So this is easy to explain. Here, if you take y-axis, we talk about market growth, sales growth. It's like 10%, 20%, 30%, like so. It goes from 0 to whatever 100, for example. Then x-axis, it says, sorry, probably I think you can't see the board. Sorry about that. I think I haven't put it my screen. Now you can see the screen, right? Sorry about that. I think earlier I have put it to the board and screen එක පේනවා නේද? Vilanjana, you can see the screen, right? Sanjeev, you can see it, right?
We can't see the presentation, sir.
That's what I'm telling. Right. I thought it's entire screen. Sanjeev, දැන් හරිද?
Still no, sir.
Now?
Yes, we can see.
Right. Sorry about that. I think I forgot to switch from board to here. Now, basically, now if you come to this graph, here what I want to do is like tell you is like we try to map position your product portfolio into two areas. That is, one in terms of sales growth or the market growth. The other one is the market share, right? So the y-axis is represented with the market growth, and the x-axis is represented by the market share. So since that I couldn't show you the rest of the thing, I will just show these things, right? Because it's a BCG matrix that what I'm trying to do, and then how it has been evolved. And then two areas, that relative market share and the market growth, are two key components that we are trying to apply here. And then so this is how basically the graph is being drawn, and this is the graph. So we try to bring all our businesses, or we call strategic business units, or maybe the product sometimes, if you are a multi-product company, into these four quadrants. And before putting these products or the strategic business units into these four quadrants, we will have one axis representing the market growth, sales growth. The other is market share. Now, if you see this, the first quadrant, we are high market share, high growth. We call them star. The low market share, high growth. It's like question marks. And then the dog is basically market share is low, market growth is also low. And here is basically high market share but low growth. So there are four areas we try to identify in a business. And then based on that, we try to take a strategic decision in terms of future of this organization. Hope that you are getting me. Why that we want to do this is, as I was telling you, that we need to grow with the market, whether beyond the market, par with the market, or lower to the market growth. So based on that, we need to understand that if we are like not growing with the market, then what we want to do to be par and be ahead with the market. So why we need to do this is because we need to ensure we are acquiring higher market share. අද තියෙන එකට වඩා තව ටිකක් මම වැඩි කරගන්නේ කොහොමද? ඒතර in order to do that, this BCG matrix is important. So based on this BCG matrix, we are trying to position our product portfolio into a kind of a graph or into a four quadrant where high market share, high growth, low market share, high growth, high market share, low growth, low market share, low growth. There are four areas, four quadrants that, so all our products could be classified, categorized. So based on the each quadrant, now we can develop product and market strategies. So based on that, the promoter can invest, or even a bank. I can say, like, if I see the BCG matrix, so I can see something stars on your portfolio. For that, you do these things. I'll show you what are the strategies. Because as a banker, it is important me to understand in your product portfolio, what are the stars? What are the question marks? What are the dogs? What are the cows? So you need to understand those things. So based on that, I can develop my strategies in consultation with the bank. So ඒකට තමයි අපි මේ BCG matrix එක හදාගත්තේ. Hope that you have got the concepts. ඒකේ මොනවා හරි issue එකක් තියෙනවද? It's not, since that we have not been very much useful, very much, using this, probably may not have, you don't have any sort of clear idea previously. But again, this is not very much into the exam purposes, but it's a general tool, because so far I haven't seen anything being questioned under this. But I just want to share this tool because it's, again, it's important in terms of classifying, categorizing your product portfolio. So it could be useful to understand the promoter's strategies. So as a banker, so then we can, argue, check and see. So why you are going to do those kind of things, right? Then we'll move, right? Now, let's say star, right? Means that, let's say in your organization, there are some product falling under star category. මොකද අපි star category කියලා කිව්වේ high growth, high market share. Right? In terms of these areas, investment, cash flow, future of the company. So then these are the recommendations. So investment. So as an investor, so he can invest on those areas to further grow and maintain market position, because these are stars of the company. Right? Is similar applicable to employees also in organization, right? In organizations, yes, we can understand different people in these 4 quadrants. So like a star players like no, so you will invest further on HR and RMA, so you'll try to bring them to very high levels. So you do investment in the people also. Like similar, you invest on these products. Why? To have a further growth and to maintain market position. Cash flows. Self-sustain. Why? Because they earn adequate cash by themselves. And they can use it for the funding. And if they want to further grow, other SBUs, strategic business units, maybe under cash cow, maybe under questions, then even you can bring cash flows, because this is the growing. This is the most important area. So grow, in addition, so you can bring the money from other business units, other products units, in order to invest here, because this is the key growing of the product in the company. These products or these stars will assure the future of the company. Then stars in organizations will decide the future. If you do it right, so they will, make the company to next level. They grow into cash cows. Then star high market share, high growth. Then gihilla, then they will stagnate. So take a cash cow level in patanga. So we'll study what is cash cow. So this is, as growth momentum, growth proposition they have high growth, high market share they are maintaining. At some point, you understand they can't further grow, but they generate cash. Cash cow we'll have it in next slide. But we have some question marks. What are those? In question marks, they will move to the stars one day. They may start taker, something that you have initiated, invented, but initially you don't, make them the high market share. because it doesn't move to that level. It is like low market share, but there's a high growth potential, right? So then what you need to do is like you have to invest on those things. That let's say the customer coming and asking and kind of a loan proposition, probably he might say that we want to start a new business, new product, new services. For that I want money. It could be infrastructure, it could be working capital some extent. But so we will expect them to grow to the star level. Initially question mark. We also see this unrealized future opportunity because there is a potential. But right now they are not doing very well, but you need to give a support. Like you are joining as a management trainee. Management trainee join a company, you can't expect wonders, no? But you have to invest on them. And so they will move to the middle level, senior level managers sometime later. So here, investment to increase the market share because the high growth, but market share is low. You need to invest to make higher market share product. So selectively develop into star. That may question marks may not move into the star level. So depending, like management trainees example. Senior managers there may be 1 or 2 drop off. Similarly, products also you can bring to some to the star category, some could be falling halfway through. So cash flows, yes, they need cash flows from other business units because especially through cash cows, they generate cash flows and pump it to here and then move to the next level. Then strategy recommendation. That's on cash cows. Growth opportunities may be very low, but they maintain the market share. Right? In every organization that you will have these things because they generate cash that could be used to other products, other SBUs. Right? So they may be operating at say full capacity. So you try to pump the money like working capital, capacity maintain, not the infrastructure. But you try to maintain the market share. Why? Because that product gives you more money to you. Not like question marks, not like dogs. Cash flows, they are positive because they are now, have spread among whatever your existing customers, and they, they are well owned by those customers, and then you can get the money. But they're very limited growth opportunity, profit growth, because now they are moving to the top, almost now declining, about to decline. Now you need to selectively take a call whether you can revamp the product and bring back to the star or the question mark category, like doing some invention. If not, so it's a natural death to the dog and move it away from the product. So that's why many organizations time to time come up with new products, new product developments, because after some time I reach into this growth to cash cow level, there are no more the growth potential, profit potential. So you need to take that call. Then finally, dogs, because they are a low market share and low growth. Then you need to take a hard call on divest them or reduce the capacity, free enough the resources so that you can use them for some other. But in terms of cash flows, you try as much as possible to make something out, to make it some kind of a contribution, at least maybe contribution positive, right? Not about fixed cost, but selling to variable cost, some kind of a contribution to the bottom line, because it's anyway reach into the natural death. But when you feel that negative cash flows, then immediately you divest those products. No growth opportunity, because now starting with question marks, moving to the grow, cash cow, now the dog category, it's like declining. So if you see these products in your portfolio, you need to take quick action, because if you're not taking quick actions, it has an impact on the stars cash cows problem, question marks. So that's what generally we do. But what we are trying to do here is, as I was telling upfront, you try to understand, identify, classify, categorize the product portfolio or strategic business units, if you term it in that way, and see whether what I have to do to grow, maintain, divest. And so based on that, you take your strategies. So based on that, banker would, fund you. So that's why sometimes, we interested in customers telling us to conducting market research, conducting this competitive analysis, conducting this BCG analysis, because you can get first-hand idea about what is happening within the organization. So here, again, some what do you call, first we say advantages when we are using this matrix. Simple, quick. It's like, good for decision making. It's a kind of, the good measure for market share and market growth. It provides information about efficient allocation of resources within the organization. It's a generator for strategic options. So based on this, so we can take some, strategic actions and, initiatives. These are advantages of this model. But there are some disadvantages also, because we try to oversimplify, because now we take only two, and so we'll say star and this kind of thing and do this kind of thing. So might not be exactly correct in almost all situations. It's a simply understandable, but maybe oversimplify means it could lead to some strategic errors. Two factors, market growth, market share, may lead into risk. Uncertainty in market and SBU definition. So because we say strategic business unit, and there are maybe other factors also, like, so based on that only we are trying to take this decision, but there may be some other factors also into consideration, hence that there may be uncertainty in these definitions. Only considers current business. අපි දැන් ගත්තේ market share and market growth. No dynamics in the future. So what would happen will have not taken into account. What is happening we are taking into account. So we'll have some issue, because in generally, අද කියන දේ හෙටම හරියන්නේ නැහැ, right? So you can't, forecast the future based on the past. There may be so many other factors to be considered, especially, taking into the considerations right now. Does not recognize possible synergies between SPUs. Then අපි මේ product එක ගන්නවා. If it is not happening, you say divest. But it doesn't take into account of the relationship, connectivity, right? The support from the other businesses, right? So those things are not taken into account, because we just, put in the four quadrants and take decisions, based on the Fox, based on the question marks, work like that. But practically, it's not be happening. Practically, we are taking, some kind of synergy between other units, and we are taking a kind of decision. But still, this is a kind of a good tool where, we will get some kind of a idea about product market strategies. So as long as management understand the BCG generates options which require further analysis and validation, greatly enhance the strategic decision making. Because so here, what we are trying to do is, like, we try to understand these, product strategies, market strategies. Earlier, a competitive analysis, short overall view of the company, and then pestle overall environmental perspective. So by doing these tools, right, or there may be several other things also, like, Ansoff matrix, and then generic strategies, product life cycle. I mean, so many tools available in terms of analyzing these, concepts. But the tools itself doesn't, guarantee that you are taking a correct or proper decisions. But it supports you to, make something more formal than just say it's a market is competitive, or environment is not so good, right? So we are not very good in terms of internal processes kind of thing. But rather than you getting a vague decisions, you are trying to make it informed decision using these models. That's what the promoter's perspective. For the bank, what we are trying to do is when customer comes and asking a project loan, so we try to analyze the project in terms of various viabilities, feasibilities, market to management and all those things. But in order to do that, these financial tools are useful to see whether how feasible this market, how feasible the management style and management operations, how feasible or how technical, the product, the project is, right? So based on that, also you take a call and see whether this project, the project is risky or average risky or low risk. So based on that, you might take, funding or non-funding decision. So basically, so far that we have done on financial tools, taking maybe 2 days or more. Then next, we are trying to do financial statement analysis, ratio analysis, and then forecasting. So that is all about financial feasibility in the project. Will complement what we have learned today. So financial feasibility, again, these non-financial tools together make a kind of forum to understand the project more clear, to whether to fund or non-fund. Such that the final decision is whether the customer can repay or not if we are to fund. That's what the decision we need to take it. But it's a bit different to existing businesses to project, because in the project, so everything is starting from the zero, right? Nothing, probably everything depends on the future cash flows. Will have an impact on the environment, impact on the operations, impact on the market, impact on your product market strategies. That's all about the non-financial tools. I think I have given you a kind of a note here. You can read through this when you have time. And again, this, I think the presentation I have done is more than enough for exam. But I know since that, we probably have exams by June or so, but don't, delay whatever the actions that you are planning to do. And last week I suggested that you can, classify the past papers, right, into each year and the syllabus area. So hope you have started it. I mean, I know, take a kind of, some good practices also, rather than waiting for the last moment. Probably when we are at the last moment, we might have so many other things into us make more difficult for exam preparation. So whenever you have time, start it, right? So yes, obviously we do kind of some revision past paper questions at late at the session, but then it might be too late. So that's why I try to take some questions like while we are doing the normal session, so that at least then concepts may be well clear and in your mind, rather than waiting for the last moment. So when we end up with the last moment, then again you may not have time to refer and it doesn't connect each other. But at least right now when we are doing kind of questions, so that how well that we can impart whatever knowledge that we learn during the class into the question to satisfy the examiner, right? That is from my end. Any questions? තේරුම් නැති එහෙම නැත්නම් තව මොන හරි areas clear කරගන්න on the non-financial tools, anything? Any questions? Oshani, Dilanja, Sanjeev, only 3 of you are remaining, so rest may not be joining, and they might be joining through the videos once we upload it. But it's good that since you are with me, at least then bit of kind of interactive. So otherwise it's very boring to conduct this kind of lectures. But any questions? You all have spent 2 hours with me, and very important time for you in Sunday morning. Anything? Yeah, Sanjeev, clear? And then Dilanja, all clear. Good. Oshani. Right. Means that, so we can wind up for today. And then next week that, we will do a financial statement analysis, ratio analysis, and the following day or week after that. So we'll try to do the financial forecasting. Again, a bit of important area in terms of computations. So let's, join next week also. And then we will continue next 2 to 3 weeks on that computations. Right. Thank you again. And thank you for joining. Have a good week ahead. Okay. Take care.